Howdy, welcome back. I'm Steven, and this is FWP Reviews. I'm back with another monthly summary, and now we're taking a look at every 2021 movie I saw this month. I took a week off from videos, and I hope to be getting them back on track in the near future, but here we are. Without further ado, the good, the bad, and the mediocre of July 2021. July was a month of serious highs and serious lows. A fun slasher trilogy all released within a month, some really bad sequels, and the second jaw drop of 2021. There's been a lot to cover, let's get into it. This month starts off with the solid entry Zola. This movie is a trip and has some very creative origins. The Twitter thread that birthed the movie that was pretty damn good. The only thing crazier than how this movie came to be is the story inside. The beautiful scenery, the sharp performances, and the clever directing all lead to something pretty good. It's mostly good, the flaws coming down to the weird ending and the lack of rewatchability, I would say, but other than that, it's pretty good. The Boss Baby 2 is cinema. Martin Scorsese, probably. I didn't want to give any actual intelligent commentary on this movie because, let's be frank, it's awful, but Jeff Goldblum's baby is a pretty diabolical villain. Not because of his origin or what he's planning to do, but the fact that the thing eats fistfuls of sugar. It's absolutely evil, and it shakes me to my core to watch a baby just shoveling fistfuls of sugar into their mouth. The Fear Street trilogy was a fun summer event. The first entry, 1994, was probably the middle entry of the trilogy. It has some good 90s throwbacks, and it has some devilish entertainment and great kills. America the Motion Picture is a slightly inaccurate retelling of the founding of the United States through adult animation. It has some good jokes, but most of it's just over-the-top nonsense. I mean, George Washington with arm chainsaws, surprisingly not the weirdest part about this movie though. By a long mile. The Tomorrow War is an action-packed, time-bending alien apocalypse movie. Chris Pratt is decent. Yvonne Strahovski is stellar. It has a lot of effective play with time and some very strong emotional moments throughout. It has this poorly guised metaphor that sort of represents the whole movie, and it doesn't land very well, and the last 20 to 30 minutes are just about too much for this poor movie to take. Marvel is back, baby. Well, back in theaters, I guess, with Black Widow. What comes is a years, maybe decade-late movie about one of the fan favorites, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. I enjoyed the core tenets of family as well as the grounded and action-packed first two acts. It has awesome performances all around, with Florence Pugh, of course, stealing the show. The third act gets a bit illogical and a bit over the top for my taste. There's so much bad CGI in this act, it's almost too much for the act to recover. But it's good to be back in theaters, and the movie is decent as a whole, so good to see Marvel back in theaters, all things considered. The second installment of the Fear Street trilogy, 1978 to be in fact, is louder, funnier, and bloodier. This movie manages to mix the perfect amount of all the elements at hand in this trilogy. It's still not a stellar movie, and the selling point of these movies is that they're a trilogy and they're all watchable right now, but it's good, all things considered. It has a few too many songs that play just a little bit too loud and are just a little bit out of place, but it's a solid midpoint for this awesome trilogy. Megan Fox is back in the newest installment in Megan Fox Covered in Blood cinematic universe, Until Death. All things considered, this is a decent thriller. It's short, to the point, and mildly effective. What more could you want? It has just enough tension to keep the viewer engaged all the way throughout the movie. It's nothing groundbreaking, but we can't always get something groundbreaking. But we can get something ice-breaking. Too soon? Censor is a classic example of style over substance. However, the scares and the thrills of this movie are just enough to keep the viewer engaged. There are strong performances throughout and a relatively intriguing setup. It gets a fair bit muddled and confused by the end, though. This movie does seem to want to have a point, but by the end, it doesn't really have that, so weird. Werewolf Within was the surprise, solid video game adaptation movie that we all needed. This decent and robust ensemble cast paired with this really good murder mystery story is one to behold. It's not the upper echelon of movies by any means, but it's good fun. I can't help but be enthralled by what this movie puts forth, and the short and sweet runtime and relatively concise narrative make it all the bit sweeter. Escape Room 2 is the second bad sequel we've gotten this month, and I would not go so far to say as July is the bad sequel month of this year. This installment is far and above better than the first installment, but it makes some pretty grievous errors. It defies all logic to make this story bigger and grander than the previous. The tension is actually there through some parts of the movie, despite the trailer giving most, if not all of it away. Not good, not awful, just bad. Fear Street 1666 is the final installment of the Fear Street trilogy. The finale is satisfying and it wraps up all the storylines decently effectively. There isn't much more to say. It has a lot of the same kind of elements we saw in the first two. It does them just about as good, maybe a little bit better in some parts, maybe a little bit worse in others. But all things considered, it's decent. It's a pretty middling trilogy as a whole, but the event was really fun to be a part of, and they're just damn good fun, even if they're not top tier intelligence movies, you know what I mean? Fuck. Karen Gillan leads Gunpowder Milkshake, and she leads it well. There's some riveting, well-stylized action and some strong emotional moments. There's something undeniably fun about the movie, and it has a robust style that is so pretty to look at and enthralling to be a part of. It's a well-rounded action flick, but it's nothing revolutionary again. 2 movies with the lowest rating I can possibly give in 1 month. That's pretty damn bad for my standards. Thank God there were some good movies this month and this year so far, because some of these movies are so bad. Oh, you want me to give you commentary on the movie like I'm supposed to because I'm a reviewer? No, I think I'm good. The Last Letter from Your Lover is a well-cast, iffy love story. It's overly complicated, and that seems to be the crux or the selling point for the people that made this movie. It feels disjointed, awkward, and way out there for what this gritty and sort of extremely enthralling romance could have been on screen. Not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. In a world where unnecessary origin movies are not likely, they are inevitable, because money is money, the least I ask for is that they are decent. And Snake Eyes is not that. It has some okay action and some okay performances, but that's about all it offers. And this MacGuffin and betrayal-ridden story are just ripe for poor writing and poor storytelling. It's all just too on the nose. Alright, I'll get out. The Green Knight is nothing short of fucking incredible. This movie is a comprehensive masterpiece. Many people have said it, and I am inclined to agree that the fantasy genre has not been this good since Lord of the Rings. Dev Patel in the leading role stuns in this movie. He is incredible and does such an excellent job. But Alice Vikander also does an incredible job. She always gives these low-key performances over at A24. Ex Machina, for example. But she really enthralls every time she's on screen, and she's only on screen a handful of times. A handful of times. Okay, I'll get out. This beautiful, robust, and fantastical world we're seeing on screen are so involving and so well done. I fawned for this movie, and I will continue to do so into the end of the year awards. M. Night Shyamalan's Old is something to behold, but certainly not in a good way. This movie is ridiculous, played out, and of an extremely low quality. It does have some entertaining and tense moments. However, this does not trump the ridiculous and horrible story that we see on screen. The Jungle Cruise is a fun movie, and The Rock fights a leopard, alright? It's fun. It also has some great puns. But this, my friends, is where the fun ends. Not only is it very long, it's poorly constructed. Those two do not mix well. There's some good, even great moments perhaps, but that doesn't defeat the painful mediocrity of the rest that we're seeing on screen. With that, everybody, another monthly summary comes to an end. Here's to hoping that the theaters continue to ramp up. There's a lot of releases in theaters this August, as well as a lot of smaller indie ones as well, and I'm excited, but let's hope that a lot of these exciting movies are actually fair prospects and not bad prospects like we've seen in the past. There are some epic highs and some epic lows this month. I can only hope for this many highs next month, and I can only hope that there are not this many lows. Until next time, follow my Instagram at FWP Reviews100 for daily written reviews about the newest movies. With that, this is FWP Reviews signing off. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.